Today we're going to cover some of the most used team comps across every single game mode. You wondering what teams to play? I got the answer right here. Hey everyone, what's happening? Lex back today for another Brawl Stars video. Today we are going to be going over some of the most used team compositions for every single game mode. Now, before we get into this, let me just preface this by saying this is absolutely not every single team that can work, because that would be almost infinite. So there's some basic principles to putting your team together, and we'll go over those as well as look at some of the most common teams that are used near the top of the ladder today. First off, let's start off with Gem Grab. Now, the important thing to remember when you're putting a team together for Gem Grab is that you need 3 distinct roles. Now, this has been blurred a little bit here with the way that the meta has been changing, but for the most part, what you're looking for is a gem carrier. That is absolutely essential, cannot be changed. You're going to need at least one longer ranged DPS or support, and then you're going to need to have either an aggro, which is, a person who kind of goes up, goes forward, he's getting those kills, putting a lot of pressure, or if not an aggro, at least a tank stopper, somebody with that really high defensive capabilities. So, with those things in mind, let's look at some of the top Gem Grab combos that are currently being used right now. Alright, so looking at this graphic, you'll see there's 3 different team comps from top to bottom. Like on the first one, Pam, Spike, and Ricochet. That is a classic Gem Grab team comp. So I'm giving you some other options as well. If you'll notice the smaller brawler icon within the bigger one, that is just an alternate that you can be used in place. And now again, this does not cover all the alternates that you can get in place. Remember to keep in mind, you need a gem carrier, you need a longer range DPS support, and you need either an aggro, which is usually like Bull or Primo or Shelly or Daryl, or if not one of those, you need some sort of defensive stopper like Spike. He's kind of a dual purpose in there. Tara can play that role as well. Shelly is a good one as well. So just bear in mind that there are a lot of options that you can choose from. These are just some of the top Gem Grab teams that are being used right now. Also, let me say that the team that you use many times is very highly dependent upon the map that you are playing. For instance, you don't see any throwers here. That's because throwers are generally just okay in Gem Grab. However, there are a couple maps, Deep Hollows and Mushroom Cave, where a thrower is really good, especially Deep Hollows. A thrower is amazing on that map. Dynamite or Barley, take your pick, they both work great. But I'm not going to cover those 2 maps because they're kind of the outlier, and for the most part, you almost would rather have a different brawler other than a thrower, except for those 2 maps. So let's take a look at the first comp right here. We've got Pam, we've got Spike, and we've got Ricochet. That is like the quintessential combo for like Hard Rock Mine. Now, for gem carriers, Pam is probably a little worse than Poco overall. However, I personally think she's better on Hard Rock Mine because of the wide open space there in the center. She can outrange Poco, and she can put more pressure on him from a distance where he can't actually reach her. Poco has to come in further, making himself more vulnerable. However, Poco is a great option there as well. It can absolutely work. I just think Pam is just a little bit better. The second combo here, we've got Poco, Nita, and Tara. Poco, again, this is probably a really great combo for something like Bone Box. However, Ricochet is probably the best on Bone Box of all the other DPS brawlers. In fact, Ricochet is probably his best mode is Gem Grab. So if you've got Ricochet, if you've been lucky enough to get him, absolutely look to push him in Gem Grab because he is a beast. And for the final Gem Grab combo, again, I'm mainly gearing Jessie towards being max, because when she's max, she can shoot her own turret with her star power and it heals it, and then it bounces off and goes towards the enemy brawlers. And that is an amazingly huge star power, one of the best in the game. And so if you have her maxed, absolutely look to push her in Gem Grab as a gem carrier because she does really well. But at Jessie, Spike, and Ricochet, pretty much Spike and Ricochet, you can throw any gem carrier with them on any map and you're going to have success because they are just that good at Gem Grab and that good of brawlers in general. Now let's take a look at Bounty. Bounty is a little bit different from the other game modes because you can kind of just mix and match any of the brawlers you really want. Now, with that said, there are some maps that absolutely favor certain brawlers over the others, And for this guide, we're excluding Snake Prairie because it is absolutely a beast of its own. It's pure grass, and good combos for that would be like Ricochet, Crow, Piper, or a Max Bow. If you have Max Bow, absolutely play him on Snake Prairie because it gives your team a massive advantage. But Max Bow, a Piper, and a Ricochet is a great combo for that map. But Snake Prairie aside, Bounty is pretty much just, you know, mix and match. It's like a buffet for Brawl Stars. So I put Piper and Brock big because they are probably the best on Bounty. Piper is head and shoulders above almost anybody. If you can play Piper well and hit your shots, she is a massive threat on Bounty. Brock is right up there as well. He doesn't have as much singular point damage as Piper, reloads a little bit faster, and his super is more offensive where Piper's is defensive. However, they both are like 1 and 2. They're right there. They're really, really good. So look to push Piper and Brock on Bounty. And as for these other brawlers, Colt, Ricochet, Bo, Penny, Dynamite or Barley, and Crow, they all work really well on Bounty. Now, Dynamite and Barley, they are more geared towards certain maps like Cabbage Patch and Groundhog Burrow. They do better there. Penny actually does really well on Cabbage Patch and Shooting Star, where she got some room to put her cannon down and it shoots over those walls, putting constant pressure on the enemy. And in Bounty, you're usually playing a brawler with lower hit points, and so those cannon blasts, when they hit, they actually do a lot of damage and they put a lot of pressure on the enemy. So Penny is a good one to push in Bounty, although I still think personally her best is probably Gem Grab, but not by much. Now, I didn't include him on here, but Poco can actually work really well on Bounty too. You have to be a little bit better at dodging those shots and positioning yourself, but if you can do that, he has so much utility for his team, which again are usually lower hit point brawlers, that Poco can actually work really well on Bounty too. Now let's take a look at Heist. Heist is probably the least diverse of all the game modes because it heavily relies on a charging tank. That's why you see Daryl on every single one of these comps. Head and shoulders, Daryl, the Barrel, is the man above every other brawler in Heist. He is the best in Heist, period, bar none. So if you have Daryl, Heist is absolutely the place to push him. Now, Bull isn't too far behind, but his super just doesn't quite have the range of Daryl's. He does break through walls, and that's a big benefit, but there's almost always lanes to go down with Daryl, especially if you have some teammates that can break some walls for you, even open up further lanes. Daryl and Bull, absolutely great combination for Heist. But looking here at this first Heist combo, double tank and a thrower, classic combo. Of the two, Barley does more point damage, like whenever, if you can condense his entire super onto a safe, you can burn about 40% of the safe. The entire safe, 40% of it, 40, maybe even more with Barley Super, condensing it directly on top of the safe. That's at max level, and it is ridiculous. However, he doesn't have wall breaking function like Dynamite does, so there's a bit of a trade-off there. Dynamite has a lot more burst damage, but not as much control, so either one are going to do great for you, but double tank and a thrower is a great combo. The next one is probably a little more classic of a combo, and that is Daryl, Colt, and Crow. Now, Crow can be subbed in for another thrower. Barley would probably be a better choice in this scenario, just because Colt can already break through those walls, so I think he offers more control. Longer lasting areas, especially on maps like Kaboom Canyon, where you can throw down a patch of Barley's shots in the grass, and that eliminates a big area that the tanks are going to try to sneak through, so he provides a little bit more. Crow actually even does a better job of that because his dots constantly tick, and so if you have Crow, Colt, and Barley, absolutely take them into Heist and wreck some face. The last one is a slightly different take on Heist combos because it is a more defensive Heist combo. Daryl is absolutely your offensive threat. Colt is right there with him. He can break those walls and also do a ton of damage to enemy tanks. However, Shelly and Spike in the third one, you're thinking, what? Shelly, Spike, and Heist? That's right. They are going to be mainly on defense, almost the entire match. What you would want to do as, say, Shelly, you're going to want to go up initially, you're going to build up that super, and then once you've got your super built up, if there's a threat of an enemy tank coming in, charging in, you're going to fall back and you're going to have your super ready on hand, and as soon as they come into range, you step on their toes, you blast them with your super, shoot one more shot, and you've got your super ready to go again. The tank's probably going to be dead, and you've got a super. She is an amazing defensive capability in Heist, and with so many tanks, it would behoove you to consider that. If you're getting really torn up by the tanks in there and you can't seem to handle them on defense, consider Shelly. Taking a look at Brawl Ball, it's also a pretty diverse meta in Brawl Ball right now. When building your team for Brawl Ball though, there's a few things you do need to remember. You wanted your team to be comprised of mainly 3 things, and now there are some variations of this that definitely stray outside that. They're kind of random, strange ones, and we'll talk about that briefly, but for the most part, you want a ball carrier or a scorer, you want a wall breaker, and you want a defensive stopper. So let's take a look at the first combo there. Primo, Colt, and Shelly. You guys got those brawlers. I know you have those brawlers because they're not too hard to get. Primo is your scorer. He's probably the best pure ball carrier in Brawl Ball simply because of his high damage, and the biggest thing is his leap. He can kick the ball forward, use his super, and leap to where the ball is going. He lands, and if anybody's near them, he knocks them away. He's got the ball, and he can walk it in for a score. So Primo is an amazing choice for Brawl Ball. Probably the best pure ball carrier. Mortis is right there with him. However, Mortis's skill cap to play as a true ball carrier or scorer in Brawl Ball is vastly higher than Primo. Primo's like here, and Mortis is like, I've got my binoculars looking up there because he's really hard to play, at least play him really effectively. But you can kick the ball forward and immediately dash to the ball, and you're self-passing it to yourself, and you can cover a lot of ground pretty quickly, but low health and not a lot of utility, and he doesn't break walls. You have to be really good with Mortis. So just bear that in mind where you see Mortis on these combos. The next combo is one that we've been seeing more lately, and the third brawler there can vary a little bit. It could be a thrower, it could be another tank, could be Colt himself, but Tara and Frank go amazingly together because with Tara's ability to group them all up and Frank's huge splash damage, it is crazy. And once you get Frank's supercharged, if you can land it, you can build up another super right off the one you just did by just attacking the person you just dropped the super on. It's crazy, and Frank and Tara making a crazy good combo in Brawl Ball. And taking a look at the last combo, once again we're going back to Primo with a Mortis alternative, Spike, and then a thrower. This is more of a triple dribble kind of combo. Now, triple dribble is the one with the lots of very small walls everywhere, and throwers work really good on that map. Again, they both have distinct advantages and disadvantages. Barley versus Mike. Mike can blow up walls, does more point damage. Barley has more area control and denial of certain spots. So either can work really well. Again, pick which one you're most comfortable with or which one's working best for your team. So there's a lot of different brawler combinations that can work, and these are just a few of the ones that the top players are using right now. Last but certainly not least is duos. Now, I just did a video on some of the best duo brawlers, but I ranked them individually. Here's some actual teams that you would like to use while going into Duo Showdown. One note is that Showdown is probably the most map-specific type of game mode in Brawl Stars, meaning that on some maps, a thrower is great, like Skull Creek. However, a thrower on Feast or Famine is absolutely not what you want to do. So just be aware that the maps in Showdown can really dictate which brawlers that you should or should not bring. Now, with that in mind, Feast or Famine is kind of its own little beast as well, and so these combos are done with all the other maps in mind, not really Feast or Famine. Let's take a look at the first one. Probably the most well-rounded combo, Poco and Brock or Colt. Ricochet can work there as well. But you've got control in the healing with Poco, who also puts out a decent amount of damage and pressure with a decent amount of hit points. And then you've got the heavy point damage in Brock, Colt, Ricochet. So pretty much Poco with almost anything goes really well. So Poco is absolutely one that I would look to push in Duo Showdown. The second one is more of a combo that you would use like on Skull Creek or Death Valley because you see a lot of throwers. The reason why you see a lot of throwers is because they're really good on those maps. So you're like, okay, I've got my Dynamite and Barley. I can see why you picked that, Lex. Why Mortis? Because Mortis counters throwers really well. He can actually, when they shoot, he can use his shots to dash away and dodge their shots really well. Plus his speed makes it really hard for throwers to deal with him. So the combo of Mortis and the thrower is a really good combo on those thrower heavy maps like Skull Creek and Death Valley. And the last combo here is the legendary combo. Now, Crow and Spike work really well together. Where they Their one downfall is that they don't have a ton of range. Crow's range is like, you know, above average, but it's not amazing, and Spike's is just average. So they could get abused by like Brock and Pipers, but for the most part, they're still really, really strong. Now, you could sub in Poco, of course. You could sub in Poco for anywhere on any of these combos, and he's gonna work great, but the legendary combo, if you're lucky enough to have Spike and Crow, absolutely take them into Duo Showdown, grab a friend that has them as well, run into Duo Showdown and rack up those trophies. So that's it, guys, some of the best team combos that are being used in Brawl Stars right now. I hope you guys found this guide helpful. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite combo is right now and what game mode you guys are playing the most of. Be interested to hear that. That's gonna wrap it up for me today. And as always, until next time, I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Lex out. Man, that dude would not stop talking. Just I mean, I guess if you liked it, you could you know, go watch some more of those videos over there or subscribe to the dude, but I don't know if I'd recommend it. I mean,